Slow is the new power. Why delayed responses build stronger connections. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today. I want to begin by acknowledging the profound wisdom that sparked this conversation. Recently, I had the privilege of interviewing Tihesha Redmond, a revolutionary voice in redefining professional communication for marginalized communities. Her work has transformed how thousands of Black women leaders navigate high pressure environments without sacrificing their well being. Tihesha doesn't just advocate for boundaries, she architects liberation through intentional communication. Her frameworks have sparked a movement that's reshaping corporate cultures across America, proving that true power often lies in the pause, not the rush. We live in a world obsessed with immediacy. Our phones ping, our watches vibrate, our inboxes fill. And beneath this constant digital drumbeat lies a dangerous assumption that our worth, both professionally and personally, is measured by how quickly we respond. But what if I told you this assumption isn't just wrong, it's destructive? What if the pause between message and response isn't a failure of commitment, but an act of profound wisdom? Think about it. When was the last time you apologized for taking too long to respond to a message? When was the last time you judged someone else's commitment based on their response time? When was the last time you felt that knot in your stomach seeing unanswered messages pile up? We've all been there, and we've all internalized a dangerous equation. Speed equals care, immediacy equals importance, instant response equals respect. This equation is fundamentally flawed and it's costing us our well being, our relationships, and ironically, the very quality of communication we're trying to preserve. Let me share three powerful insights that challenge everything we think we know about responsive communication. First, delayed responses can be a form of self care and boundary setting, not a signal of disinterest. Consider Dr. Timnit Gebru, the brilliant Ethiopian American AI researcher who co founded Black in AI. As one of very few Black women at major technology conferences, sometimes literally the only one among thousands, she faced not just isolation, but an extraordinary pressure to respond immediately to prove her dedication. The tech industry, with its move fast and break things mentality, worships at the altar of speed. But Dr. Gebru recognized something profound. Thoughtful pacing enables deeper impact. Rather than frantically responding to every demand on her time, she prioritized building communities of support and collective advocacy. This wasn't avoidance. This wasn't laziness. This was revolutionary. By resisting the pressure for performative urgency, Dr. Gebru created space for what truly mattered, building networks that sparked international conversations about ethics and equity in technology. Her insistence on reflective pace has inspired other marginalized technologists to set boundaries without guilt, improving both innovation quality and workplace well being across sectors. When she was pushed out of Google after challenging their rushed AI deployment, she didn't respond with immediate public outrage. Instead, she took time to process, reflect, and then respond with a measured approach that ultimately led to greater systemic change than an immediate reaction ever could have. The lesson: sometimes the most powerful response is the one that comes not from reaction, but from reflection. This brings me to our second insight. Challenging the if they wanted to, they would mindset opens up healthier relationship dynamics in work and business. We've all heard this phrase, haven't we? If they wanted to, they would. It's become a relationship mantra applied to everything from romantic partners to business colleagues, didn't respond to your email within 24 hours? Well, if they valued you, they would have. But this mindset creates a false binary. It assumes that desire and action exist in perfect alignment, that our capacity to respond is solely determined by our level of care. This simply isn't true. And it's especially untrue for those navigating complex professional landscapes with heightened expectations around accessibility. At Black River Technical College, faculty encountered a powerful lesson in this truth. They participated in a panel designed to improve understanding between neurodivergent students and staff regarding communication styles. Many of these students came from underrepresented backgrounds and processed information differently than expected. Faculty had been interpreting delayed or non traditional responses as disengagement, leading them to overlook student needs or misjudge their interest level. The assumption was simple: if these students cared about their education, they would respond quickly and conventionally. But the panel revealed something profound. These students cared deeply, so deeply that they needed time to process information thoroughly before responding. Their delayed responses weren't signs of disinterest, but of deep engagement. The solution wasn't to demand faster responses, it was to educate staff that some students require more time before responding fully. Faculty began providing written summaries so students could engage thoughtfully at their own pace. The results were transformative. Classroom trust deepened, and academic outcomes improved dramatically for these diverse learners. One professor shared how a student who had barely spoken all semester approached her after implementing these changes. For the first time, the student said, I feel like someone understands that my silence isn't absence. It's me being fully present in my own way. This initiative demonstrated how honoring varied response times builds inclusion, not just tolerance, for all communicators. It challenged the notion that quick engagement equals commitment, revealing instead that thoughtful pacing protects relationships from burnout and encourages more honest interactions. Which leads us to our third insight: silence is not a verdict, it's a variable. In our hyper-connected world, we've come to view silence as rejection. No response means no interest. Delay means dismissal. But what if we reframe silence not as an ending, but as a process? A mentorship program led by Leilani Lewis at the University of Washington focused on developing leadership identity among BIPOC professionals through structured workshops. These workshops emphasized authentic connection over rapid fire networking. The participants often felt pressured into constant availability to mentors or peers as proof they were hungry enough for advancement opportunities. This created stress instead of true growth. One participant described checking emails at 2 a.m., terrified that a delayed response would signal lack of commitment. Another spoke of developing anxiety attacks from the pressure to always be on, always responsive, always proving their dedication through immediate replies. The program intentionally countered this culture by validating careful reflection over instant feedback. Workshops emphasized building sustainable relationships through intentional pacing, encouraging mentees not just to reply quickly but thoughtfully based on capacity. The results were transformative. Mentees reported increased confidence setting boundaries without fear it would harm career prospects. Mentors noted deeper connections when communication was unhurried yet genuine. Many BIPOC staff lacked access early on to supportive networks where slower engagement was normalized. By creating this space, The program demonstrated how shifting away from urgency first mindsets enables real empowerment. The model has been shared nationally as best practice for inclusive professional development programs supporting underrepresented leaders. These stories reveal a powerful truth. The quality of our communication isn't measured by its speed, but by its substance. Now, I can already hear the objections forming. But what about responsiveness in customer service? What about time sensitive projects? What about emergencies? Those are valid concerns. And yes, there are contexts where immediacy matters deeply. I'm not suggesting we abandon responsiveness altogether. What I am suggesting is that we need to distinguish between urgency and importance, between reaction and response, between availability and presence. In the soft girl era, a movement that speaks directly to high achieving Black women who have spent years in survival mode, this distinction becomes even more crucial. These women have led teams, raised families, held down households, carried communities. But at what cost? Many are exhausted from constantly grinding instead of grounding in joy, peace, softness, and self prioritization. For these women, learning to pause isn't just about communication strategy. It's about reclaiming their humanity in a world that has demanded their constant service. As Tihesha Redmond's work reminds us, the softness is not weakness. It's a radical act of self-love. And sometimes that softness looks like taking the time you need before responding. It looks like dropping the superwoman cape and embracing the power of the pause. So, where do we go from here? How do we begin to shift this deeply ingrained cultural expectation around immediacy? It starts with small intentional changes. Be explicit about your communication boundaries. Let people know when they can expect a response from you. Practice the art of the thoughtful delay. When you receive a message that isn't truly urgent, give yourself permission to respond when you have the bandwidth to be fully present. Reframe how you interpret others' response times. Instead of assuming disinterest, consider that they might be practicing self care or giving your message the thoughtful attention it deserves. Create communication norms within your teams that honor different processing styles and capacities. And perhaps most importantly, release yourself from the guilt of the unanswered message. Your worth is not measured by your response time. I challenge you today, not tomorrow, not next week, but today, to revolutionize one relationship through the power of the pause. Tell someone important to you that you're practicing more intentional communication. Set a boundary around your response time. Honor your need for reflection before reaction. Because in a world that demands we move ever faster, the true rebellion is to move at the pace of wisdom. In a culture that equates speed with value, the true revolution is to value depth over immediacy. The space between message and response isn't empty, it's fertile ground where discernment grows, where wisdom takes root, where humanity flourishes. Your delayed response isn't an apology waiting to happen. It's a declaration that you value quality over speed, depth over performance, presence over mere participation. So pause, breathe, reflect. And when you're ready, truly ready, respond not from obligation, but from intention. Thank you